Being exactly 47 quests longer than the world prior to it, Zafaria is home to some of the most stunning visuals ever and a very rich and dense story. If you can get past the greyhorn mercenaries, that is. Welcome to yet another episode of the Solo Balance Speedrun Challenge, where I intend to go through the entire game as quickly as I can, however, while 100% completing every single world, including their side quests and their main quests, before I am able to move on to the next one. Considering Zafaria is the 7th world of the main arc of Wizard101, and including the fact that we went through the side worlds of Wisteria and Grizzleheim, there are a lot of other episodes and installments in the series for you to enjoy if this is the first one that you have clicked on. I have also conveniently created a playlist of said thing, so you do not even need to click off of this video. So if you have enjoyed this series or you would like to see how we got up to this point, please be sure to check that out, and thank you in advance. Without further ado, I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. Let's get into the story of Zafaria. The quest to Zafaria has you talking to Professor Falmea, the fire school teacher, who tells you of her and Sir Reginald Baxpeed's exchange student program. This initial exchange of dialogue ends when Professor Falmea hands you a photo of all of the missing students, including the professor. You go then to talk to Sir Reginald Baxby, who is one of the other coordinators of this exchange student program, and he explains to you that one of the missing students is actually a Zafarian prince. He then gives you the spiral key to Zafaria and tells you to meet with Inyanga Whitestripes in the Baobab Crossroads, who is a witch doctor but is going to end up being our point of contact in Zafaria. Love Zafaria. Even my tiger knows. That's not a tiger, it's a lion, but I think. Yeah, okay.
Sir Baxby sent...
Inyanga initially wants to send you into the Savannah, where some of the missing students are known to be, but in order to get there, you have to talk to the guard outside. The guard outside the gate ends up telling you to go talk to this merchant that has been pestering him, but said merchant tells you that his goods have been stolen. After helping the merchant recover his goods and solving the crisis there, you are finally allowed access into the Savannah, where you meet up with Tick-Tick Snaketongue. This guy is unfortunately going to be a very familiar face throughout Zafaria, so get to know him well. Tick-Tick first pits you against the Thornpaw tribe, who ends up being really friendly, but they do have one of the wizards from your missing exchange student program held in a cage, so you do end up helping them, but they do free him in return. Tick-Tick then pits you against the Darkmane tribe, who also end up being friendly, but they also do have one of the students that you're looking after. She ends up actually being the tribe's garden person, so once you help her plant a few of the seeds for the tribe, she ends up coming back with you as well. You then report back to Tick-Tick to basically call him out on his bullshit, and he sends you into this random hut where you are greeted by some shadow monsters that are there to murder you. You then return back outside to realize that Tick-Tick has fled the scene. You do end up helping the people in this area by cleansing this corrupted pool that's basically turning them all evil. You then report back to the queen of the tribe, who tasks you with one more thing that she needs done. Not only is one of these missing students that you are looking for being held hostage, but also her husband has been held against his will by an evil minion of the Shadow Queen. Nergal, the burned lion, is awaiting you at the top, who has the similar dark glow from the pool from earlier, so that's how you know he's evil. And upon his defeat, you free the missing student you are looking for, and the king as well. At this point, this is where I think Zafaria might get a bad taste in people's mouths. You see, every time you free one of the missing students, the photo image updates to show you how many of them you have found, and at this point, it shows that you have rescued 4 of the 8 missing students. See, you might look at that image and be like, oh my god, I've rescued 4 of the 8 missing students, we're making really good progress, but that's not the case. You see, the Savannah is the first of 7 areas in Zafaria, and if you can see where I'm going here, you rescued 4 people in one area, and you have 7 other zones to get through with missing people in them. So Zafaria tends to drag on in a lot of unnecessary ways, and this is where I think they really messed up with the story writing, because why have I already freed 4 people if I'm only like a 7th done with this world? Like, I don't know. After freeing the king and rescuing half of the students, you then head into Zamunda to see where you can help out more. You go past the gate and meet up with Sizani Sunrunner, who needs a lot of help in the Zamunda, so she instantly starts putting you to work. It is here in the Zamunda outskirts where you are very quickly introduced to the greyhorn mercenaries, who is another mob or creature in this world that you are going to get very, very, very comfortable with. If you are new to Wizard101 or you have never had a character reach Zafaria yet, allow me to share the story of the greyhorn mercenaries. See, these guys, you have to defeat for this quest, you have to defeat for another quest after that, you have to defeat for another quest after that. The greyhorn mercenaries in Zafaria alone are in a total of 11 entire quests. 11. And not just in Zamunda. You meet them again in Stonetown. You meet them again in the city of Zamunda. You have to fight them again once you come back out to the outskirts. These guys are everywhere. You will not get enough of the greyhorn mercenaries in Zafaria. Anyways, the story of Zamunda is basically you go around helping out the people basically recover from a bunch of random and unknown attacks that they've been receiving. You go in the city and find Tsitsi Snaketail, who yes is different from Tick Tick Snaketongue standing outside. He recognizes that you're basically making progress and wants to shut you down and sends you to a random barracks where Tom Snakeskin, who is disguised as a greyhorn, is awaiting you and basically ambushes you. Long story short, Tick Tick Snaketongue has basically been putting the king under an enchantment that has been given to him by the Shadow Queen, which has basically made him turn evil and kind of neglectful towards his duties. You free the king, Shaka Zebu, from his enchantment after defeating him in combat, and he tells you to go report back to the queen, who you have been helping out all this time and is waiting for you outside. The queen basically tells you that the reason that the zebras and the elephants are at war are because the elephants believe that the zebras have stolen their prince, with whom you might remember is one of the missing students. The queen of the zebra then drafts a letter for you to take to the queen of the elephants, who is located in the stone town. The letter basically entails that the Shadow Queen is the one pitting them against each other and that the zebras do not have their missing prince. You meet up with the Queen of the Elephants in Stonetown, who basically tells you that the only way the war is going to end is if she finally receives back her son, which she believes once again the zebras have stolen from her. The Queen then sends you over to meet up with her advisor, who basically informs you that they have one of the missing students you're looking for, held in captivity in a literal zoo. You go to talk to the student inside of the zoo, who somehow, some reason knows of you and knows about your good deeds, and asks for you to return to the queen to tell you to release him. Upon returning to the queen, she tells you that the student wizard is one of her favorites in captivity, so she's a little reluctant to give him up, but basically tells you if you want to release the student, to go speak with her advisor once again. The queen's advisor concurs with the queen and basically agrees that the situation is getting quite worse out there, and then sends you to go defeat more greyhorn mercenaries. After defeating more greyhorn mercenaries, you return back to the advisor, who tells you your task is not quite done, and sends you to defeat the Musith Berserkers, who upon their defeat drop a strange-looking headdress with a diamond encrusted into the cap. You ask one of the merchants in the nearby market if they know of the whereabouts of the gemstone, and they tell you that the gem belongs to the gorillas of the Drum Jungle, and they then tell you to meet with a merchant named Belloq, who very frequently enters the Drum Jungle and would be able to better provide you answers as to your gemstone. You then meet up with a lion named Sobaka, who is able to take you into the waterfront, basically undetected on his little raft. After a successful voyage into the waterfront, Sobaka's bright idea is to ask around the locals as to where Belloq might be hiding, and immediately sends you to work to defeating more greyhorn mercenaries, who tell you eventually that Belloq is hiding in a place called the Sook. The fight against Belloq is honestly not too difficult, but if you are unprepared, it will very quickly get out of hand, so here's to making sure you are prepared for that fight. Belloq's one and only cheat is that if he does not receive any form of damage at any given turn, he will cheat cast a raw spell on you that does a metric boatload of balance damage to you. You can very easily circumvent this cheat if you cast a damage over time spell on him, so the clip you're seeing in the background is me heading to the bazaar to find a Fire Elf treasure card, which will satisfy his taking damage cheat requirement. When you first enter Belloq's tent, you find him in conversation with one of the counselors from the Baobab Crown, and very quickly sends him away so that Belloq can deal with you himself. The clip you are now seeing in the background is me successfully solo completing the Belloq fight. The very first turn I take to cast a Fire Elf spell, and I made sure to start the combat with a Fire Pip instead of my normal Storm Pip, so that I would be able to easily cast this fire elf. And then the rest of combat is me just blading up, and the turn when I am ready to hit, instead of recasting a fire elf, I will just cast my damage spell, because at that point he is taking damage from me regardless, and I end up killing him with my Power Nova spell. You end up sparing Belloq's life afterwards, but he does confirm that the blackback gorillas of the Drum Jungle are the ones selling them the gemstones that are on the headdresses. Per Belloq's intel, you return to tell Sobaka that there is a boat right next to where you guys have been this entire time that has been housing extra of these gems, and upon defeating the people inside, you also find something called the Bill of Lading. Just at a first glance, you are unable to decipher the content on what is on this bill, so you return to the Queen's advisor in Stonetown, who basically tells you he's able to decipher it, but in the meantime, you should go give the Queen an update on what all has been happening. You then return to the advisor, who tells you that of the documents that he skimmed through, the most important and glaring thing that he found was the ex-counselor's name on all of the pieces of paper, basically indicating that he's been in it with the Shadow Queen this entire time. You then go to the counselor's house to go bring him in for questioning, and conveniently, the counselor's advisor, Veer Goodheart, is waiting for you outside. He's able to tell you that he can explain most of the happenings to you, but he needs to do it in private and tells you to meet him in the Waterfront. You meet with the counselor's advisor in the Waterfront, who tells you that the counselor himself is in a place known as the Black Palace. His plan is to disguise you as one of the Black Tusk cultists so that you're able to easily infiltrate the palace. Upon your initial entry, you find Tim Snake Eye deep in conversation with the counselor, who very quickly flee the scene and send a giant bug after you. You then go on to fight the counselor, who very disappointingly is only an elite enemy with 1600 HP. You then go on to fight the final boss, Tim Snake Eye, whose only cheat is that he will cast a tower shield on himself that you're able to remove with a Pierce card, or if you heal yourself, he will remove it for the next turn of combat. After his defeat, Tim Snake Eye ends up begging for his life in exchange for some information, where he tells you that the prince is currently being taken to the Drum Jungle. Which, if you remember, our wizard was going to go there anyway because we learned that the gems were being sold from the gorillas there, but that's besides the point. You return to the Elephant Queen in the Stone Town to inform her of the news, and she very quickly gets quite scared. She then informs you that if they're taking the prince to the Drum Jungle, that they probably intend to take him to the Elephant Graveyard, where one of the relics is being held that basically allows the people of Zafaria to fend off the shadows. She then finally releases the wizard that she has in captivity at the zoo, meaning that you finally have only 2 of the missing people left to rescue. You then go find Mako One Tusk, who is able to take you on his ship to the Drum Jungle. The Drum Jungle is honestly one of the most confusing and boring places across all of Zafaria. The sole purpose you have in this place is that you need to get to the Elephant Graveyard, and of course there are a bunch of obstacles you need to get through to begin with, but the entirety of this place is that you end up freeing one of the professors that is held in captivity, and also defeating a lot of shadow monsters. And yes, I mean a lot. The Drum Jungle ends when you are able to insert a gem into the elephant pedestal, which then opens the gates to the Elephant Graveyard. In the Elephant Graveyard, one of your first priorities is to do a bunch of basically cleansing rituals to reverse the effects of what the Shadow Queen has done, to basically desecrate all of the graves and ruin all of the traditional rites that the elephants have been doing here. Eventually, Queen Elissa tells you that if you want to get inside of her tomb where the Shadow Queen is currently, you need to defeat separate bosses that each have one of her sacred relics, those being her bracelet, robe, ring, and ornament, as these objects are all wards that help keep out the intruders. And so, per the Queen's guidance, you then spend the next couple of minutes defeating 4 separate bosses in 4 separate dungeon instances. None of them have any cheats, but still a little bit to get through because they all have a lot of HP. It is then time to enter Queen Elissa's tomb, and one of the first puzzles that you need to do is actually quite cool. To start off this challenge, you have to stand on the center drum, and then whichever drum lights up next is the one that you need to step on. And this is timed, and you do need to do it in time, otherwise you need to restart the pattern all over again. After defeating some super simple shadow monsters in the next room, you then have to go place Queen Elissa's sacred relics on these pedestals before you are allowed access into the next room. You then go on to enter the final room, where you realize the final missing student and the lost elephant prince is being held captive by the Shadow Queen and Tsitsi Snaketail. Right before your eyes, you watch as the elephant prince takes down the wards and barriers that are keeping the shadows out. Morganth retrieves the lost shadow relics of Zafaria and runs away with Tsitsi. Luckily for you in this instance, this is not quite the final boss of this world, because all Morganth ends up leaving behind for you to deal with are a bunch of simple shadow monsters that you've already dealt with beforehand. You then go talk to the Elephant Prince and put your heads together as to where the Shadow Queen could have gone next. You and the Prince both take the time to realize what the Shadow Queen has been saying all along about this prophecy, where she states, "The mirror will break, the horn will call." You both then deduce that the Shadow Queen must be speaking metaphorically and that she is heading to Mirror Lake, where the Deck of Shadows is currently being housed atop of. You then return to the Baobab Crown to inform the counselors of what has gone on with the Shadow Queen, and then return to Inyanga Whitestripes, where he is able to concoct a potion to tell you that Mirror Lake has been right in front of you this entire time, beneath the vortex in the Baobab Crossroads. In a very satisfying conclusion, one of the first people you see in Mirror Lake Dungeon is CC Snaketail, and you are finally able to kick his ass and defeat him once and for all. You then reach the top of the Shining Mountain, where you have a very tense encounter with the Shadow Queen Morganth.
You have grown in power, wizard. I am impressed. I was once like you, Ravenwood's most promising student. Imagine what I could teach you. I offer you endless power. Think of what we could do. Join me. We can redraw the spiral itself. No? Then I'll just destroy you. And do it alone. Spectral guardians of Shining Mountain, I am your master now. Destroy that wizard.
I think there should be an alternate version, an alternate script writing version of Wizard101 where you can actually have a choice in the story. And I want to say yes to Morganth in this moment. I want to look her dead in the eyes and be like, yes, let's join forces. And this would solve every issue for the future of you, because you'd be able to team up with one of the most powerful people in the spiral. I wish I could. Besides the fact that you have to fight 4 bosses in one, this fight is not entirely too difficult. It is very similar to CT's original cheat when you had to fight him in the palace in the Waterfront. But basically, the elephant will summon a tower shield onto himself, and you can get rid of it with a Pierce treasure card. Basically, other than that, the Elephant Spectral Guardian will also randomly call out that you need to cast a Charm, which is a blade spell, and if you're able to do that, he will not cast an attack on you, so pretty easy there. But basically, just pack a Pierce treasure card. You can buy these from the bazaar, and when he casts his minus 90% tower shield, just use it on him, and you should have no problem with this fight after all. You then follow Morganth as you enter the bottom of the lake, and you have to fight 4 of these Ice Goliath Bruisers, who otherwise don't have any cheats but are ice and thus very tanky, and as you can see here, I barely survived by the skin of my teeth. After all is said and done, you meet up with Morganth one more time at the end, where she is reunited with her Deck of Shadows.
Why do you oppose me? I am merely recovering that which is mine. This treasure was stolen from me long, long ago. It is mine by right. I have done it. I have broken Ambro's cursed locks and reclaimed what was rightfully mine. And now I reclaim my Deck of Shadows. With this, my power returns 100-fold. Goodbye, young wizard. My pets are hungry, and you will make an excellent snack. If you happen to survive, tell your headmaster he cannot stop me. He will hear the horn when it calls.
The final boss fight of Zafaria is that you need to kill these starburst spiders at the end here. They do not cheat, but they are 4 consecutive storm bosses, so I do get cooked by them twice, and what you're seeing in the background is me dying to them twice. I do end up defeating them on the 3rd fight by the grace of God, because the storm spider fizzles his final spell on me while I have 2 HP.
A deep tremor shakes your very being, and you hear a howling wind from outside.
The mirror will break, the horn will call. From the shadows I strike, and the skies will fall.
You must return to Baobab at once and tell Inyanga Whitestripes what has transpired here today.
And so you do exactly as told and return to Inyanga Whitestripes in the Baobab Crossroad to inform him of your victory over the Shadow Queen. You then return to the headmaster to tell him of your victory, I guess, in Zafaria, and then he is able to give you the quest tree to Avalon. And of course, as I do with every one of these speedrun videos, here is me turning in the final quest and getting the completionist badge for doing every single quest and side quest in the world of Zafaria. So, despite Zafaria having 148 quests, which is by far the most amount of quests we have gotten into thus far, the main quest of Zafaria only took me 5 hours and 16 minutes. Adding in the time it took me to do the side quests, which again surprisingly took me quite a while considering how little the main quest did, that takes our time to just shy of 7 hours at 6 hours, 57 minutes, and 40 seconds. Before I let you go for today, I just really quick wanted to say that as I just mentioned, this is 7 hours of raw footage that I am sifting through, that I have to edit down, create voiceovers for, all that stuff. And it is a part of why I love the series, is because you get to see in real time and with real stats and like my interpretation of things, kind of how long it takes and how much you have to struggle doing this, especially as a solo balance character. But I would be amiss if I sat here and lied to you guys and say that sometimes I really just want to go on and quest with this character. I really wish I could just, speed through everything. If I was playing this game every time I was logging on to do this, I might be close to max level by now, or definitely a lot farther than I would be. This is definitely just a me thing, but because I don't move on to the next world until I have this video completed for my speedrun challenge, it sometimes is very difficult because I will want to log on and play the game, but then I'm like, oh shoot, I haven't done my video. And I know the logical step would be, well, why don't you just do your video? But again, it is sometimes really scary to look at like 7 hours of footage and be like, oh my god, I have to sit here for the next minimum of 7 hours looking through all of that footage, seeing what I want to make my content on, how I want to structure these videos, and all that jazz. If you are enjoying what I'm doing with this speedrun and how I structure this and the layout that I do and all that stuff, leaving a like, commenting, subscribing, all that stuff will definitely be the most immediate way to show me that I am doing something good with this. If not, just sticking to the end and watching this video genuinely does mean a lot. So I wanted to thank you again for sticking around, keeping up with this series, being an enjoyer of this series. It genuinely does mean a lot to me in the grand scheme of things. I also just want to say real quick, a lot of my videos have been getting a fair amount of traction, including a lot of fresh new faces around here. So if you are new, if this is the first of my speedrun series you are seeing as opposed to my guide videos, welcome. There are a lot more where these came from. There is a playlist that will flash or has already flashed on screen, so be sure to check it out from episode 1 or wherever you have left off if this is the first you are seeing of my speedrun challenge videos. That is all I will say here for today. Thank you so much for spending time hanging out with me and watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!